Hello world, welcome to Radio Cade. I am your host, Michael Cade. I'm super grateful and excited to introduce my first ever podcast guest, Jose Medeles, owner of the world-famous Portland store Revival Drum Shop and band member of the 1939 Ensemble. Jose played for about 10 years with the Breeders and has performed with a ton of other interesting and well-known artists, such as Modest Mouse, M. Ward, Ben Harper, Joey Ramone, and a Tom Waits cover band called Dust Bowl Holler. Jose and I got into a discussion about many topics, including gratitude, authenticity, fear, anxiety, and drummers as a community. I'm genuinely thrilled that Jose agreed to be the first guest on my inaugural show, and so without further ado, here's our full conversation. What was the number one fear that you ran into en route toward this path you're on now?
Man, that's a great question. I think early on it was just the fear of failure. I don't have a lot to fall back on. I never went to college. So drumming was so important to me. It engulfed my life so in a really good way. So I think that was a main thing. So because of that fear of failing, it really propelled me to stay so hyper-focused. So when I would go to an audition, I would really try to be better than the gig, really know the music, because I think preparation, and like I said earlier, being viciously dedicated to playing helped me overcome that fear. You know what I mean? Like playing through the fear was huge for me. And once those voices of doubt or like, man, I shouldn't be here, what if I don't get the gig, or what if I lose the gig, all of that, like fear never goes away. It's always there. It's containing that voice. That voice used to be at 7, but right now I feel like it's at about a 2. I think that happens and develops over time. I think you have to work at it. I know I did. Everyone is on their own path. So my path was to just try to keep the ego at bay and to really quiet down that huge voice of fear.
Are you talking about, for instance, imposter syndrome, where people are like, everyone's going to find out that I'm not the person for this job, or that kind of a
Absolutely,
thing?
Man. Yeah, because I'm a river kid from, LaSalle, Illinois. It's a beautiful small town. I'm so proud to be from there. I would have this like, oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I should be here. This is so crazy. How can I be in the Breeders right now? Or how am I backing up Joey Ramone? This is insane. So, like I said, it's always there. But I've worked on it so hard that I'm able to grow not only as a person, but also then as a drummer. To me, those go hand in hand. When you're working on it, it's a skill that you just live with every day, and starting to make decisions and being confident, really being genuine and authentic. I think those are really amazing qualities, obviously for everybody, and to try to always, work on those is a daily practice for me. To, like I said, man, to just kind of have that confidence and belief in yourself. And I have amazing people around me that support me and listen to me, that have so much patience, and I learn so much from them. And I think that's the key is just containing that fear, or there wouldn't be a Revival Drum Shop. There wouldn't be 1939 Ensemble. Mm-hmm. It gives you that confidence. It's crazy, man, because you're really the only one that kind of holds you back. I was writing that story of like, man, I don't think, I gotta be like, I gotta say yes to everything, man, because, I have to like do this or I have to do that. It's been an amazing process. And I think it happens over time, because the way I think now at 45, I wasn't thinking this way at 25. Mm-hmm. I wasn't thinking this way at 35. So I think as life progresses and you get older and you become a husband and become a father, all of these things, man, you start to pump the brakes and slow down and see like, hey man, what's not working? And it's all in your head. It's incredible, man. It's like you have the key
Well, I love what you said about how, at one point it was at 7, the anxiety or the fear, and now you've been able to calibrate it to the point where it's down to 2.
You mentioned the word anxiety, and what I used to call anxiety, now I just call it a different energy. You know what I mean? It's like it's
almost like giving it that name. Anxiety adds all this extra weight to it that it, unnecessary weight maybe.
Exactly. At least that works for me. And I'm going to say that a lot through this, what I mean? Because I'm not here to tell anybody, their own, how to run their trip. You know what I mean? This is just all what I've been through and the stumbles along the way. So I just hope to be open and to be vulnerable and to be truthful and clear in my, intention of saying, yeah, man, it's not always great. A lot of times it's really, really messed up.
Yeah, we were talking about that on the phone a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's why I connected with you. You know what I mean? And you were just like, yeah, I think more people should talk about that. And I totally agree.
A lot of people don't get into the nitty-gritty of, what goes on behind the scenes in those environments.
You're totally right. And I think, but one good thing is that along the way, the tip of my spear has always been the love of drumming. That's what got me to those situations. And it was me containing myself in those situations and not wavering, trying to be true always, for the music. I have taken a couple gigs that I'll just call them glory gigs that I shouldn't have taken because it would look good on my resume. And I learned really quickly how that's not good for you. It was like the universe just telling me like, well, what did you expect? And I think that's why I loved playing in the Breeders so much, creating with Kim and Kelly and Mondo and Richard and, creating with a band called 22 Jacks, who I loved. And it was really great because at the end of the day, it was all worth it. I think that's what it is. It's like when you're there and you're there for all the right reasons, you can't mess with that. And I think that's why 39 has had its successes, and my success is maybe a lot different than other people's. And same with Revival. The success of Revival has been fantastic, and both things have gone way past what I ever thought would happen with them.
You started that drum shop right when the economy was kind of in ruins, and it was a boutique drum shop, so you had to be worried probably about what kind of audience you would find to keep it afloat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, all of that goes, and it's not like irrational. It's very real. It's very valid to go, is this even going to work? But you have to try. I mean, we're 9 years old, and it's been a really influential shop to other people opening up drum shops and other people just loving what we do. And that means a lot because just like as a drummer, there's a trust factor. When someone brings you in to play drums on their record or on their tour, they're trusting you and you are there for a reason. So I think you have to take that responsibility and take it seriously. And I think that's been one of my struggles, is that I take that on. You know what I mean? I'm a pretty sensitive guy. It's like I had to learn how to manage that as a drummer and as a business leader. It's kind of crazy, and I mean, I love it, but it's been a crazy ride, no doubt about it. All through it, I felt really good that as a drummer and as a business guy, I kept my integrity and my character through it all, the good and the bad.
I see on Instagram every day, it seems like there's a fantastic drummer, a photo of him stopping at your store, him or her, whether it's a touring band or just somebody who's around at the time. And it has earned all of this basically international notoriety, it sounds like.
Yeah, it has. And, I've been asked the question, why? In industry rags and stuff like that. And it's a very valid question because we're kind of an enigma in the industry because it's an interesting shop. It's unique, no doubt. And I think it's because of Portland. Right. It's because of my crew. And it's real. There's no there's no bullshit there.
The first time I went there, it was probably like a year ago. And it was just very welcoming and very friendly, which I don't feel like you always get that vibe from a music store. Sometimes a music store can be kind of cliquey, or sometimes it can kind of have that Guitar Center sort of Walmart feel to it. And this was just like whoever was working there was amazingly friendly, and there was this warmth and sort of camaraderie that happened instantly.
Thank you for saying that, and that's kind of our mission. And what's so neat is that it's so natural. It's not a put on. It's like I think that's the magic of it. We celebrate drummers, we celebrate drums, we celebrate drumming. It's really great. Everybody's there because they want to be there. I had to pump the brakes of me being there a couple of years ago because I got really burnt out. Kind of like I said earlier, I just take everything on.
You take your responsibilities very seriously.
I do, what I mean? But it was great to be able to do that, and how lucky am I to be able to kind of chill and kind of reconnect with why I started the shop and why I'm a father and why I'm a husband and why I'm a drummer. I feel so fortunate, and it's such an incredible gift that I've designed my life that I'm able to do that, to have coffee with Dave King in the morning or come out here on a 4:30, in the afternoon, to be able to take my son to piano lessons and music lessons, and I'm home when he gets home from school.
Oh, great.
I mean, it's just like, and I'm able to play with my band and still have the joy of, walking into revival, and it's just really neat. And like I said earlier, I see it as a gift, and I'm so grateful for it. I don't want to say I'm lucky. I feel like I've earned it all. But that's one thing I loved about being from the Midwest and from LaSalle, is that I think if I had a plan B, maybe I would have done a plan B. Because being a drummer, it's hard. It's not getting any easier out there. And being a small business owner, it's not the easiest road to take.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about that because I read another interview with you where you were saying you almost wanted to quit at one point. And then I don't remember if it was like a drumstick factory or somewhere where you were working, where you were running into all these major dudes like Pete Thomas and Jim Keltner.
Yeah.
And I think in the interview that I read, you alluded to that these guys, or interactions with those type of guys, sort of rekindled your belief in wanting to play drums.
Exactly. And the place was a professional drum shop in Hollywood on Vine Street. Dan and Jerry that run it now, they're like my uncles. I mean, it's been family ran and operated since 1959. It's where I learned how to run a drum shop. And not only that, but when I was done with touring and being in a band, I just went in there one day. I was a regular, and I asked them if they needed any help. And Stan was like, yeah, why don't you come in on Saturday? So I started working there. I had totally just given up on playing drums and touring because I was over it. It was just...
Was it just a general burnout, or was it not feeling it at the time, or...
Well, I was pretty young at that point. I think I was only 26 or something. I saw how ugly the music business is, just how vicious it is. I'm just over it. I'm not going to kick my friend in the throat for a gig. You know what I mean? Or to take a gig. It's, the band I was playing in, I was so dedicated to it, and, really great band, and just, it didn't happen for us. And I just needed to chill. I know I'm kind of dramatic, but I was all like, screw this. And around that time, I went and auditioned for Rocket from the Crypt, one of my favorite bands in the whole world. And I ended up not getting the gig, and I was devastated. I'm all like, so if I can't get into one of my favorite bands, what the hell am I going to do? So I was done. You know what I mean? I go, well, maybe it's time for me to move on. At least if I work at Pro Drum, I'll be around drums. It's what I know. And thank goodness that Stan and Jerry welcomed me into their family. And there, I was able to slowly fall back in love with drumming. Like I said, having heroes of mine come in, like you named them, Elvin Jones, Jim Keltner, Thomas. I mean, the list goes on, DJ Bonebreak. Yeah, I was able to kind of confide in them. They're like, well, what do you do? What's your deal? And I'd be like, I used to play drums. I'm not into it. And they're like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? You don't just give up. I was like, oh yeah, they're right. And so I started playing, on the pad again. And then I put together a band just for fun. It was called Crank Williams. And we did all Hank Williams songs, cowpunk. It was so much fun. I mean, we would just rehearse and play these songs super fast, and it was just a great outlet. So I started to fall back in love with drumming again. And then this is what's even crazier, is that once I told myself, like, this was like a couple of years, I was like, you know what, I think I'm ready to do this again. Literally a few weeks later, the Breeders called and asked if I wanted to audition. And I was like, and I told myself before that, the next situation I get into, it's going to be pure. I'm going to love the music. I'm going to love the people. It was just really great.
Sounds like that was just totally the experience you had with the Breeders. The Deal sisters just have these charismatic and magnetic personalities, it seems like. Is it that way with them on a day-to-day basis in a band?
Just like any relationship, you have your ups and downs. But I did that gig essentially for 10 years, played on 3 records. I loved it. It was, I have so many great musical memories, and they helped me achieve so much personal level. It's fantastic, and I love that we're still friends. I just saw them the other night.
Yeah, they were in Portland recently.
Yeah, so that was really, really cool. And it was the first time me seeing the band as, and not me playing in it. So it was a lot of firsts that night. First time meeting Jim McPherson, their, one of the original drummers. Yeah, their second drummer. It was great to talk with him, and he's such a beautiful guy, and see Kim and Kelly, and Kim is so good, the writer, my son. I don't know, it was really great to see them as a fan, and I learned so much along the way, working with them both spiritually and musically. I learned a lot. Kim's an incredible soul, so she would pull me aside and talk to me as a friend at times, which meant a lot to me. Where she'd be like, man, I think you're a workaholic, and I'm all like, wow, no one's ever said that to me. You might be right. It was really like those type of moments, I think, are just as important to me as playing at Fuji Fest. It was great, and I'm really proud that I felt like we kind of helped each other out, along the way, because I worked with her when she wasn't sober and then when she was sober. So I was kind of there during that transition, and that meant a lot to me, that I didn't give up on. As difficult as things would get, I was always supportive.
You said you learned huge lessons, not just musically, but perhaps spiritually, by working with them. What would you say some of those lessons were?
I think how to treat people as a leader. When I say that, because to me that it goes past just the pay structure, or it's like how you make your band members feel. I thought that was really cool.
In terms of them leading by example and treating everybody well?
Yeah, treating people well and treating people not well. Learning like, oh, that's what should happen. And learning from them how music is really important. And then also seeing, how serious and they take the music. I learned like, well, maybe it doesn't have to be that precious. It's one of those, situations, where I was like...
Perspective?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like going, oh, wow, man, we made a lot of great music that will never see the light of day. Whereas now when I approach like 39 Ensemble, I try to not do that. You know what I mean? To be like, hey, let's put this out. It's our music.
You mean you don't obsess over making it perfect before releasing it? But you...
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And like I said, and every artist has their own, take on it. But that's what I took away from it. And that, the music comes first, I thought was really great. And to me, music and soul are very similar. You know what I mean? Like, I feel that way. So, and also too, like, what was great is what I learned from, Kim and Kelly was their openness. To see their vulnerability was a beautiful thing. To be like, you know what, we're not all perfect, and that's okay. And that's another thing. What you see is what you get. It's fantastic. I can't believe that I was around that. You know what I mean? Where I would be like, because I'm 10 years younger than them. So I was the young one, where I'd be like, I don't know, I think we should do this. And they'd be like, no, I don't know. And they were always right. You know what I mean? They were always right. I'm like, oh my gosh, he was totally right.
Just in terms of the way to perform a particular song, or
kind of business and yeah, and just like, to me, that's really spiritual. To know yourself that well I don't know. I don't know a lot of people that are like that. I'm still trying to get there. I'm getting closer, I feel like. It was a beautiful thing to be around. And I wish my head was where it is now 10 years ago when I was with them. I just love how dedicated they are to their parents. That's what people don't talk about when they talk about Kim Deal. You know what I mean? They talk about her badass bass lines, which they should. And they talk about her incredible voice and the incredible songs. So I was really fortunate to see past that and see this incredible spirit. That's another thing too. It's like there's so much integrity there. She is such a badass. I hope I took some of those lessons. I may not incorporate those every day, but I'm just like, man, you can't mess with that. And that's one thing, it's just like either right or wrong, it's how she feels. And it's her. Either you dig it or you don't. I just feel really blessed to be a part of that camp.
Yeah, you were on, 3 albums?
Yeah, and some of her solo stuff, which was nice. It was really cool. And I love, that was an amazing part of my journey, as a musician and as a human.
Any plans to collaborate in the future? Or?
Yeah, I don't plan on anything. It would be really, really neat and fun, no doubt about it. But right now I just try to just focus on the present and not think about the future too much.
Right.
And just, love that interaction, from the other night and our texts. And, she'll always be part of my life, which I'm really proud of that. And Kelly too. It's incredible to have Kim and Kelly as friends.
Well, I saw you post on Instagram that the original drummer, Jim, that it was an interesting experience for you guys to talk about. You would learn the songs that he had played, and then he had to learn the songs that you had played.
Yeah, it was really great. It was pretty fun, and I love watching him play his parts because I was like, oh man, that's how he threw that. That's really cool.
He's really clever.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And he was so kind and so humble, like, man, am I playing this part right? And I'm all like, yeah, man, like, yeah, you're totally crushing it. Yeah. And so it was just a really nice experience, and that's the way it should be. I would just remind myself, every day when I meditate is to just come out of love. That's it. I wish I learned that earlier too. Sometimes I would say some crazy things or think crazy stuff, and it's really awesome to come out of that perspective.
Have you met Ginger Baker?
No, I haven't.
Have you seen the movie about him?
I've saw it in the theater twice, and I've bought it when it came on iTunes, and so I've watched it a bunch. I love that movie. It's fantastic.
It made me want to play drums again after I had not done it for a long time. And
that's powerful.
Yeah, it was really powerful. Speaking of fear, he's a sort of fear-inducing character. And so I was curious if you had heard any stories about what it's like to interact with him, because I know Chad Smith has interviewed him before.
I'm not sure, It's a really powerful movie. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
It's like...
Beware of Mr. Baker, is that?
Yeah, that's it. And I haven't met him, and I don't know if I would if I saw him go up to him. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, he's pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm a relatively sensitive guy. I don't know if I can handle that. But if he walked into my house, if he walked into Revival,
right?
I'd feel a little bit more confident. But dude, if I saw him at a cafe, I'd be like, well, that's cool. There's Ginger Baker, and get my coffee and bounce.
I want to talk about 1939 Ensemble and
Sure.
how that came to be and sort of what your vision is for that.
1939 Ensemble, just kind of came about as a musical project for me. There's been a bunch of different lineups with 1939 Ensemble. It's kind of an umbrella for me, and whatever I do underneath it is great for me and for whoever is involved.
Yeah.
Seems to be like a lot of fun. This particular version of 1939 Ensemble came together about 6 years ago. Started out as a duo, me and David Caniglio, one of my favorite drummers in the whole wide world. Another beautiful, genuine cat.
And he's at the rock school on Hawthorne, right?
School of Rock.
School of Rock.
He does that, and he's got 2, incredible kids, and he's great. I met him through Revival, of course.
Nice.
He's the first drummer I asked if he wanted to come over and jam, and he did, and he kept coming back, so that was good. And then we evolved into a trio with Josh Thomas on trumpet and Moog, so that was great. And
I really like his playing, by the way.
He's fantastic, yeah. And talk about peaceful and authentic. You hear it in his playing. I just adore him. I love both of those guys, no doubt about it. And then we got Nate Carter on guitar, and he also plays mallets. So we're a quartet. You know, Nate has been kind of my co-pilot for the last couple of years, no doubt, or might have been even, I think he's been in the band for 2 years, maybe 3 years. He's incredible. You know, it's just a band that we all have our say in, you know, musically and business-wise. And it's just a really, really fun project for everybody. The only plans we have is just to keep making music. Really, we have 2 releases coming out next year. Everything that has happened to us has been essentially organic. Playing our first show at the No, and then starting to get some really cool show offers. Went on tour with Tortoise. We've played with Battles and Medeles, Martin and Wood and Kamasi Washington. You know,
I love him.
Good. Yeah, I mean,
that guy's fantastic.
It's, you know, Earth. I mean, it just, I feel so honored to play with those guys and to see where it's gone, because it's another thing where it's like we just did it just to do it. I think someone wrote somewhere, they said, you know what's neat is Jose Medeles. Like, he doesn't go and join a band. He starts a duo, you know, percussion, vibraphone, noise, you know, project. And I think that's why people maybe enjoy it.
And it just kind of branched off from that original conception.
And that's what you want to do. You want to evolve. So that's really it with 1939 Ensemble. We'll continue to evolve as a band. We'll continue to put energy into the music that we're writing, and hopefully it'll have some people like it and come to shows. And we don't even base our success on that. We just base it on what we can control. I have to always remind myself of that too. We have a great manager named Seth who helps us out a lot. But everything has happened, man, like I said, organically, and I'm just going to keep going, because anytime I start trying to force it into something like that, kind of that old mentality, it starts feeling weird. I start getting like bummed out. I'm all like, why am I getting bummed? Oh yeah, because this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing.
It almost feels like you're betraying yourself. Or
man, it's like you can't convince people to like your band. It just will happen. And like I said, it's these reminders, you know, to get off that road as quick as you can.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to be playing locally anytime soon, or is there a place where we can see you live?
Oh yeah, we're going to. Next Saturday, November 18th, we're at the Jack London downtown. Okay. First time playing there. We're going to have...
Is that the old pool hall?
Downstairs. Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's going to be really great. We're going to have like Ralph Carney, who's played with Tom Waits and John Zorn, come and sit in with us.
Oh, nice.
Reed from the Blue Cranes is going to sit in with us. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And then next month, we're playing at the December 15th. We're playing with Bad Bad Not Good at Rev Hall.
That's a cool venue, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's where we played with Thundercat and Earth, and
excellent.
But yeah, we got that going on. Then Mississippi Studios in January, we're gonna having an EP release party. That'll be a lot of fun. Our EP is called Beats and Saints. We do 4 covers, a couple new ones. But my friend Josh Klinghoffer plays guitar on it. He plays in Chili Peppers, so he was nice enough to play a beautiful solo
very nice.
On it, and Ralph Carney also guests on it.
And it's going to be 4 cover songs?
It's the EP is 4 covers and 2 originals.
Okay.
And then we have our new full-length record dropping probably in April, called New Cinema. DJ Logic scratches on it, and Sam from Quasi plays some organ on it. So
I was going to say, you have, aside from just following your career in general and seeing you on social media, you seem to congregate in this inner circle of like really people, not necessarily huge names, but people that are just fantastic. John Theodore from Queens of the Stone Age, Phil Manley from Trans Am, all those guys I love, and I see that there's a lot of interaction between you guys.
Yeah, John, I've known John Theodore for a long time, and he's a beautiful soul. He hasn't changed.
He has that
ever.
Vibe that he's just...
He's one of the best. He's just so sweet. He's so good to me. I love all of his success and deserves all of it. Yeah, I'm just proud to be his friend.
He's a great drummer also.
Oh,
It's like,
hands down, man.
yeah. And the other thing that we have in common that I noticed a lot through social media is you and I end up favoriting a lot of the same Nick Cave photos on Instagram. And I was wondering if you got to see him when he played here last summer.
I did. My friend Xander took me to the show. You know, I like Grinder Man and I like Nick Cave stuff, but I wouldn't consider myself a fan until that show.
I'm so glad you said that, because that show, I mean, I hate to use words like transformative and all that stuff, but I felt like an otherworldly vibe had entered the hall that night. And just the material that he's performing, too, is so personal and
it was beautiful, right?
About loss. And
yeah. My eyes welled up a couple times that night. One of those situations where you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. But I loved it. I loved the entire show. Totally dove into his music more. Yeah, I'm a fan, and what an incredible artist.
That whole band, what I like about them, too, as a band, is that they play very sympathetically. The material is very personal on these last couple albums that he did, and it's almost like when you hear the band playing it, they're playing along with the soul of Nick Cave. Like, they know their friend, and they're playing accordingly, and it sounds so beautiful on stage together.
What a nice thing to say. Yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah. Exactly.
And, I think you're totally right, and I agree.
So you saw him that one time in Portland, and that was the very first time you'd seen him?
That was it, and if I never see him again, I'm okay with that, because it was that powerful.
It was fantastic.
Holy mackerel.
Who is your favorite drummer? Or do you have a list of favorite drummers, would you say?
Yeah, it's pretty extensive, you know, because I love drummers for different reasons, you know. Like, I love Bob Moses, his spirituality looking at drums. I really envy that. You know, there's so many drummers that are so pure, and, you know, like Dave King, you know, from the Bad Plus and
they're
Dave
great.
King Trucking Company. It's them when you hear them play. It's stunning. You know, the list goes on. Scott Amendola, you know, John Theodore. There's so many, you know. It's hard for me to peg because I'm such a fan. Yeah, I love so many drummers.
That's kind of another thing I love about drummers in general as people, is that they're not afraid to just say they're a fan. I remember Blondie's drummer one time, somebody asked him why he played music, and he's like, well, I'm a fan of music, so I want to play it. You know? Sometimes you just don't hear that from other players, whether they're a guitar player or bass player. Drummers really seem to idolize one another, it seems like.
I think we're a special crew. We support each other, you know, more than we don't. Talking about gear.
Drummers aren't catty with each other. Like.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, man. I think that's why Revival, you know, works so well. It's kind of like a club, a little clubhouse for drummers, and I feel great that I chose an instrument in a community then that is so supportive. It's really special. I agree. We're a special breed.
So are you guys staying put in that location for the foreseeable future, or because I like that spot you have now?
Yeah, me too. You know what I mean? No one knows the future. That's why you got to really, really embrace it now. You know, I don't take anything for granted. I love that we'll be there for another month. Like, when I say that to people, I think they think like, oh no, are you not going to be here after a month? I go, no, that's like how I look at it. Like, oh, rad, we had a good month. We'll be here next month. That's great. Maybe that's part of it. Where I take over the world, you know what I mean? Like, it's never been about that. You know, we hit a ceiling like a couple of years ago, and I asked the guys, you know, Jake Endicott, my manager, who's one of the best people I know, and Carrie Ortiz, who works there, another incredible person. Like, man, we could take this thing, man. We could totally put the gas on this, man, if we want.
Right.
And it was nice to have them go, man, we're cool. You know, let's just focus on what we do. And I love that.
Well, it just seems like a healthier way to go about things, to look at things like, how can I make my life interesting and enrich it, rather than trying to, like, reach some number or goal in terms of sales.
Oh, yeah, totally. But that's not normal thinking for a business. You know, you dig? Like, it's like more. To me, part of the success of Revival is that I was able to really find my freedom, both musically and working on it spiritually too. You know what I mean? I was able to do that. I don't want to work more. You know, it's like I work enough. Like, I can't even imagine working like I was working, you know, 7 days a week.
Well, now you're successful enough where you can kind of delegate authority and...
Absolutely. And I learned how to let go. That's huge too, man. Like, it took me a long time to let go. And I still fall back sometimes where I kind of micromanage a bit, but still working on that. But letting go is huge. You know, letting go with 39, wherever that thing goes, cool. You know, same with revival. Letting go is huge.
Not getting so wound up about the outcome.
Absolutely, man, because no one cares. No one cares. And that's why you have to regulate yourself.
Right.
You know, man, because it's all perspective. And that's why, you know, I love the Stoics and how they look at things. And I'm trying to incorporate that type of thinking into my life over the last couple of years.
So we're talking about Stoicism?
I've embraced that.
Who would you recommend, or what would you recommend as far as reading?
Oh, meditations, of course. You
yeah.
know, that's the Marcus Aurelius.
Okay.
You know, Seneca, Epictetus, all that good stuff. And there's so many great books out there that looks at it from that angle. So I know it's enriched my life, and it's nice to have that bullseye. It's nice to go, here is Marcus, who is considered the good emperor, waking up every day, being grateful for where he was at, and preparing his day. And I don't know, man, it's heavy duty, and it's like it rings true, the writings of his. Yeah, I embraced that, like, heavily. It was a game changer for me. Kind of keeping my ego at bay was huge. You know what I mean? Like, to really think that someone was trying to bum me out on purpose was so ridiculous. Once I kind of pumped the brakes on that, no one that I know of woke up, said, I'm going to bum out Jose today. I can't wait. If they did, yeah, I don't see that happening. So the Stoics were badass.
When did sort of, I guess, your experimentation with meditation begin? Is that something that's recent?
No, it's been going for a while now. Yeah, for at least a couple of years. Yeah, I meditate every day. I'm trying to meditate twice a day. That's been my new goal. I do it in the morning, then I would love to do it later in the afternoon.
And how long do you do it for?
Half hour. And sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter. I love that it's part of my routine. You know, and Revival's been able to grant me that freedom to realize what's important, which is family, of course, music, and the shop. And it's in that order. It wasn't always in that order. You dig? And that's why things got squirrely.
Family, music, and the shop is...
That's the order that I look at things now. Whereas before it was the shop, family, music. But I know I had to go through that. And I am convinced that because of that, the shop is where it is because I was so viciously dedicated.
Two words that keep coming up that I love in this discussion are gratitude and authenticity. Those are things that I think probably have helped define you, become the success that you are.
Well, thank you for that. I agree. I can't thank people enough for what they've done for me and what they continue to do. That's why I will always do what I can to honor that, where the trust will always be there as a friend. You know what I mean? I love it when I could like talk to someone and go, hey man, where's our relationship at? Are we friends? Or are we kind of friends? Are we like, just like...
do you have conversations like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My poor friends, you know what I mean? And then they're...
No, I love it because it's a kind of conversation I would like to have with people, but I think a lot of us are afraid to have conversations.
That's what I mean, to be like, hey man, where exactly are we? And it always ends up being better to having this really kind of hard conversation because people get so distracted, and I get it, you know, with stuff. I used to be that way. I just want to know where I need to put my energy. I guess what it is I try to work with this no bullshit clause. Well, no, man, that seems kind of funny. You know what I mean? Or I just kind of call it as how I see it. And I love being wrong. You know what I mean? I embrace that. I just want clarity. That's all. If this is where it's at, man, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll embrace it, and I'll know how much energy to put into it.
But let's figure out if that's truly what it is.
Yeah, because that's and what's so nice is the benefit of that is that's how much I care about the relationship.
Yeah.
You dig? Like to go, hey man, like, are we like just kind of friends? Because I want to be your friend, but you know
well, it's probably jarring to people when they hear somebody say something like that.
You know, and they're just like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? And I'll like once I explain what's going on, it's this really great, this light happens.
Metamorphosis.
Yeah. And it's like, and like I said, like, because the tip of the spear is because I like our relationship and I want to know where it's at. It's sometimes really hard to be my friend, but I think ultimately, I'm your friend, and when I say, hey man, you're an asshole, it's coming from a good place. Or like, man, I love you. It's fucking real and there's some shit behind it. You know what I was trying to say?
Well, yeah, that's when you read about athletes, they always appreciate the coaches who are straight shooters in that respect. So it's like whether it's they always know where they stand with the particular coach if they're addressing the players that way.
When there is conflict or debate, that means you do care. When it's just kind of like, oh yeah, man, whatever, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like I see that at Revival. We have debates about things because we all love it so much.
Right.
And we want it to be successful and we want it to keep going. It's really great. I wish I had a camera sometimes at these awesome conversations we have. At the end of it, I love it. And I can high five the guys and hug them because I say, man, I'm so lucky that I have a crew that loves what we're doing because it's bigger than all of us. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than Jake. It's bigger than Carrie. It's, this like mission and what we've created is so much bigger.
Well, I love what you said about conflict because conflict doesn't always have to be like a knockdown drag out. It can just be, discussion of a difficult topic with a friend or something of that nature.
Yeah. And that's a part of thing that I've learned from past experiences. It's like where I go now, I'm going to hit that head on and get done with it. I'm not going to think about it and turn this thing into a mountain and make up stuff and go into this weird spiral.
Yeah.
You dig? It's just like, man, hey, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to find out what's going on with this right now. And it's been such a great thing. And
emancipating almost.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's like, I wish I knew that seriously like 20 years ago. 10 years ago,
Where can we check you out online if we want to look up 1939 Ensemble or Revival?
We both have websites and Instagram. I have an Instagram, Jose Medeles. I post some fun stuff up there.
Excellent.
It's been a real treat, man. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down.